Alright, hello and welcome back everyone. Today we're going to be doing a Santa hat video DIY. And I'm super happy and grateful to have been given permission from Tatyana to use her Santa hat pattern, and she does have it available on her store, so that will be linked below with all her info and Insta and everything, as always when we use patterns. It's a very fun and simple, quick pattern. I believe it could be hand sewn if you'd like, but I won't be going that route. I will be using my machine. So all you need are a nice fabric that you want the hat to be made out of, like the little cone shape. So I will be making a red one and a white one, maybe a green one eventually. This polyfill will be for the pom-pom that will be hanging from the hat, and this little fur will be, excuse that was my boyfriend sleeping. The little pom-pom will be also made out of the little fur that will be used for the hairband, the furry part that goes around the head. Yeah, so that's what's gonna happen. We're all set. Alright, now a great tip for cutting fur is cutting it on the reverse side, on the wrong side. So you're not tempted to do like a blunt cut that will mess up the hair. I'll start over here. You kind of feel like there's like a little... See, you feel how you get in between the hairs, and you don't... Otherwise you'd be cutting these, and this piece would be, useless. It would look bad. Just find your way. Guide the little blade through. Now it is a little slower, but the outcome is guaranteed to be nice. You see how that looks? Looks pretty natural. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut these off camera and speed up this process for all of us. Shredding like a little bit into the edges. Just trimming that hair off a little bit. Just so it can make it a little easier in your machine to sew. And you get less bulk in your seams, which always helps when you're sewing for dolls. And there you go. Alright, so now I'll get this ready. Alright, now for the actual hat, using the actual fabric, I really want to use the bias. And for those of you who don't know, the simple way you find it is by finding the selvage, which is the edge that has, the little fringe, or like the name of the brand of the textile company or something like that. It usually has something printed, and you'll notice it's a little stiffer, different than the rest of the fabric. And it runs on 2 parallels. Find one and fold it like this. And if you have some stretch, that's a good indicator that you have found the bias. And it usually just gives woven fabrics a little stretch, and I think it'll let the hats drape really nicely if we do this. So, just gonna go ahead and do that. Put my little weight. Clean it up a bit. And there you go. So, this is how it's basically gonna look, roughly like that. The general idea of how it's gonna look. So, I do have most of these ready. Little headband part. And the pom-poms, these are all done. Set this aside. And I decided on this dark green that looks like a grayish blue on camera, but it's a lot more green in person. So that's what I'll be using. And of course, the red. Traditional, classic, can't go wrong. Alright, so I'm gonna skip over to the red one. Okay, so now that we have everything cut up and set to sew, we're gonna start off by serging the fur headband like this, serging or sewing, whatever you can do, and then going like lengthwise on the hat. Wrong sides facing out and right sides together, and then serge or sew. So that's our next step, and I'll get started. Since it did mess up my machine, well, my needle to be exact, please make sure to trim more than you think actually that you should. Alright. Trim a decent amount. It's a little easier to cut when you're going against the grain. And the grain is the direction in which the fur falls. So cut against the direction the fur falls. Alright. I didn't remember to move the fur away earlier, so that could be it. But I guess we'll find out. Oh man. And that worked. So, flip it over and you can see a little baldness. But in my opinion, it's worth saving your machine's needle. So, it's not too noticeable if you face it on the back, or you could even just stitch it up with the machine a little bit past the serging and you'll be fine. In my case, it doesn't really bother me too much. And then for the next step, all you have to do is that. Alright, now a quick tip before you attach the fur to the hat, they recommend that you sew all around and bring this opening shut, like just sew all around. I went ahead and trimmed a little piece off, that way it's easier for my machine to be guided and it's not as bulky. So I didn't do the inside because no one's gonna really see it, so just the outside. And remember not to cut too much into it because you want this to lay over it and cover that seam. And if you'd like, before you attach them, remember to match up the seam allowances so the backs face together and they're both well hidden, so, but we'll get into that later. Just a quick tip, you use the side that you trimmed, turn it inside, on the inner, turn it inside, make it the inside part of the circle, start at the seams, match them up, lift the foot, and as you can see right here, use like some, what's it called, tweezers or something, to just move the fur down as you stitch. That's basically the tip. It'll make it easier for you to see your stitch line, and it'll just be easier to organize the fur, and you won't sew into it. Just do that. Do that. Use your guide. And you see that, and you could just cover it. And if you do happen to sew into it, just pull it out. But you do lose some fur because some of this part gets stuck up there. So, like here. Alright, and that's it for this step. This is the inside that we stitched. It's a lot cleaner. So, there you go. Alright, so now that we stitched up our fur part together at the end, so there's just one whole piece without any openings, we're going to start sewing the hat together. So, find the seam allowance and the back seam allowance of the hat, match them up with the right sides facing out, match at the seam allowance, do some quick pinning, and like I mentioned earlier, tuck the fur down. It will definitely help you out. Okay, so I went ahead and pinned all of them together, and they're ready to be stitched, and after that we'll move on to the pom-poms. Alright, and the final step is to create the pom-poms, and the way you do that is threading a needle, creating a knot, and doing a wide running stitch all around the pom-pom, well, the circle now. And have your polyfill ready. Simply stuff it. Now at this point I would secure the stitches. Just run it through the nearest little fold. I probably should have closed it a little more, but it's fine. So if that happens to you, just keep stitching. So just get the little folds like earlier. And it'll do the same effect eventually once you get through all of them. Alright, and it's closed. Just the last 2 stitches just to seal it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the last 2, and I'll be right back. Alright, so for the last hat, I'm gonna go ahead and do 2 little bells. And all you do is run it through. Find the little open it to the thread. Next one. And loop it once again. I would just do this to strengthen it. Oh, there goes one. So don't pull too tight or they will start to fall out. I'm not in the mood to do that little loop again, so I'm just gonna do this. Don't do it too tight so they have some room to move around. And there goes another. So you have to be really careful. I recommend you do like a clear, like plastic, like fishing line type of embroidery thread. That will definitely hold up a lot better against the metal, and it won't cut. Like this is 100% cotton thread, so that's probably why it's just cutting right through it. Alright, last one. There you go. I don't know if anyone noticed, but this one faces up. The grain of this one goes down, and this one as well, it also goes up. So all set. I mean, look at these hats, y'all. Like, I'm really proud of them. They're so cute. I love the little like shimmer they have, the little shine from the satin. Thank you so much, Tatyana, for letting me use your pattern for my video. They're adorable, and I cannot wait to see how everyone else uses them and the patterns, and not the patterns, but like the fabrics and everything. So yeah, like if you guys learned anything new, like always, please feel free to leave a like and comment below anything you learned or anything you may want to add that may make the process easier for everyone else. But yeah, so that's basically it for this video. So thank you so much for sticking around and watching. I'll see you guys next time.